What's going on, everyone? Let's talk about the Phoenix Suns package for Bradley Beal. Because, couple things. One, this package makes zero sense for Bradley Beal other than the DeAndre Ayton package. So, basically, Phoenix would send DeAndre Ayton, an additional cap filler, or Chris Paul and Landry Shamet to the Washington Wizards for Bradley Beal. Now, Phoenix is trying to do the Chris Paul and Landry Shamet. That is what they are trying to push. Why in the world would the Washington Wizards want Chris Paul and Landry Shamet and give up Bradley Beal when Phoenix has no draft picks or any? It would make zero sense for them to accept that deal, right? Yes, you'd move off of his contract and you could just waive Chris Paul and his non-guaranteed money or partially guaranteed money. So you pay him his $15 million, he's gone, and you cleared him off the books. That could be a thing that they are looking at. But you get nothing in return. At least the Miami Heat, you get some assets in return. You get some picks because they're trying to do it without giving up Tyler Hero. So you wouldn't be able to get the players, and the players would be, or at least the one that Miami's trying to push, which is Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson. Yes, that's probably just as bad, if not worse, especially because Duncan Robinson's kind of long-term salary. But Landry Shamet has long-term salary. Not as much as Duncan Robinson, but you don't get any assets in return. At least Miami, you get probably 2 first-round picks and maybe some seconds. You probably get whatever you want from them. Now, if you could get DeAndre Ayton, well, then now that makes sense because you're going to very likely go into a rebuild. There's talks about the Washington Wizards potentially trading Kristaps Porzingis to the Portland Trailblazers, or at least at the time of recording this video, that hasn't been done yet. That might happen at some point, but that's kind of the idea is, okay, we're going to hit the reset button, we're going to rebuild, and DeAndre Ayton would be a great starting point for their rebuild. And especially if you can go and unload guys and kind of build around DeAndre Ayton. So that to me makes sense. But if you're taking on Chris Paul just to waive him, basically at that point, all you're doing is just trying to unload salary. And yes, it makes sense for Washington to want to get off of Bradley Beal's salary, but Bradley Beal's market is not great, but I think that there's something there. You could get something for him. But that being said, there's a couple incentives that may be what is kind of nudging the Phoenix Suns and Bradley Beal to this marriage. One, Miami doesn't really seem to be that interested. They want Damian Lillard. That's what they want. They want Dame, and they very likely are probably going to wait for Damian Lillard. So that's one thing. The other thing is that Josh Berlstein is the Phoenix Suns CEO, and he's the son of Bradley Beal's agent. So I talk about a little tampering. People always talk about LeBron James and Clutch Sports, and they always do this, that, and the other. Well, this is kind of that same thing. Kind of like the Jalen Brunson to the New York Knicks. That was something that was fishy that people didn't really talk about much, and the Knicks ended up getting in trouble for that. So does that end up happening with the Phoenix Suns? Also, since Bradley Beal has a no trade clause, which is something of note, that can decide what compensation is sent. So Phoenix can easily match salaries with Chris Paul, Landry Shamet. Both are on expiring deals. Shamet non-guaranteed for 2024, 2025. So that's kind of the thing. Again, you're just kind of unloading salary. All right, I guess. But to me, Bradley Beal on the Phoenix Suns makes zero sense. It does. It makes zero sense to me, right? Phoenix would go and get Bradley Beal. Yes, you'd have Bradley Beal, you'd have Kevin Durant, you'd have Devin Booker. That is probably the best scoring trio in the league, hands down, far and away. Good luck trying to stop that scoring trio. Problem is that all 3 of those guys, especially Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant, are injury-prone guys, very injury-prone guys, and don't play a lot of games. You would have 0 defense, 0 depth. You would be basically cap-strapped and under the new CBA, essentially hard-capped, and you'd have no ability to make trades, use your exceptions, do anything. And if you don't win and it doesn't work, you're screwed for the next 4 or 5 years, and you just basically wasted the Kevin Durant trade. which is more likely than not with this roster, because you're not going to be able to keep Chris Paul. You're going to unload Chris Paul. Now, if you can keep DeAndre Ayton, well, then now you can use Ayton to try to go get 2 or 3 pieces that you can kind of put around this roster, because at that point, you don't need a 2010 center. You just need somebody that can rebound any misses. Like, that's basically all it is. And at that point, you're going full in on offense. You don't care about defense. So, yes, you'll probably get a couple of, like, the veteran guys that are chasing rings, so you could kind of just go and get a bunch of vet minimum guys that are just solely defensive guys, because at that point, you don't care about offense. You got Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker, right? So this is kind of like a replication of what Brooklyn was doing with James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. That's kind of what Phoenix is leaning towards here. Difference is that team had more shooting, more depth, also had defensive guys, and like Nick Claxton and stuff like that, for example. And so it made more sense to kind of go all in and push your chips and go for that big 3, which ultimately didn't work. But the Phoenix Suns, on the other hand, they don't have that pre-established depth that they can go then and make a trade for Bradley Beal. So obviously, many of you, if you're been subscribed, I have a Laker channel. As stands Lakers, I am a Laker fan. And one of the things that I've talked about is the Lakers make sense for Bradley Beal if they wanted to go that route. Not saying that they will or that they should or anything like that, but let's say that they did want to go that route. That makes sense because they already have their core established, and they could make the trade for Bradley Beal without disrupting that core. So the Lakers could basically just swap essentially D'Lo and Beasley for Bradley Beal. So you have the exact same roster, you just added Bradley Beal. And yes, the CBA and all that stuff becomes a mess, but you don't care because you already have your entire roster. You already have your 8 to 10 guys deep. Now you're just trying to find the, 1 or 2 vet minimum guys that can maybe come in and make a contribution. That's it. Team like Miami, very similar, right? You would have your core guys, especially if they can make the trade without Tyler Hero. You would still have Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo. So if you add Bradley Beal, at that point you don't really care because you got your core guys and you're just trying to find those vet minimum guys that can kind of piece things together. Now, when you're talking about the Phoenix Suns, they don't have those core guys established. They have Kevin Durant, and they have Devin Booker, and that's basically it. And you're gonna what? Like, you're gonna have Bradley Beal probably run point guard, right? Or Devin Booker, one of those two. Okay, right? Like that wasn't a terrible idea, but how do they mesh together? Do they work? Can they stay healthy? They're not going to be able to defend anybody. You're going to have one of the worst defensive fronts in the league. And then your hope is that you can find 2 or 3 just lockdown defensive guys, one of those being a center. Like, you're going to play a team like the Lakers or the Nuggets or the Sixers, who just have centers that are just going to eat you alive because you're not going to be able to stop them, right? Like, and it's just, I don't understand the idea. You have Kevin Durant and you have Devin Booker. Trade or unload Chris Paul so you could use exceptions or whatever and get some salary. Trade DeAndre Ayton and go get those 2 or 3 rotation pieces and put a real respectable team around these 2 guys. These guys can give you 70 points a game. You don't need scoring. You don't need more scoring with these 2 guys, right? You don't need to try to make things clunky on the roster. You could just keep these 2 guys, unload Chris Paul, whether you're waving them and stretching them or you're trading them or doing whatever, right? You make that happen, and then you sign a guy or 2, and then you trade Ayton and you go get 2 or 3 pieces, right? And now all of a sudden, there you go, right? Could you turn Ayton and Shamit and, Miles Turner and, some pieces? I don't know, a Dwart or something like that, because I don't really think you need Buddy Hield, because again, you got enough scoring, you got enough shooting, so go get a guy. I don't know, like, can you do something like that? Maybe, right? Can you like turn an Ayton into like a, I don't know, a Kyle Kuzma and something like I just, or in a Gafford or something like that, right? Like that would be nice. That would be something. You got two defensive pieces. I just I just feel like the Phoenix Suns are going about this the wrong way. And look, if you win a championship, then who cares, right? Winning solves everything. They win an NBA championship, even if they just win one, it was worth it. The Phoenix Suns have never won an NBA championship. So if you get your first one, then you're in business, right? That's all you care about. Home run, right? So I don't, I just, yes, if you win a chip, good. But I just think that they have potential to win multiple. I just think that they're in a position right now, if you just make the right moves, you have this window that is wide open that could lead you to an NBA championship. And I just don't think Bradley Beal is that right choice. I just don't. I just don't think it makes sense. Now, maybe they're trying to get Bradley Beal because of Kevin Durant's injury concerns, right? So you're hoping that maybe between those three, Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal can stay healthy just by like not having to work so hard, right? And, maybe being able to limit their minutes, because you could always have Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, or Devin Booker and Bradley Beal, or Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant on the court at all times, and you're good. You could even always have one of them out while other two are getting rest and let one of them just kind of run the show. I don't know. It's interesting, but those are my thoughts and opinions, and as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know yours down in the comments below. What do you think? What do you think the Phoenix Suns should do? Think that, go trade for Bradley Beal? Do you think they shouldn't? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it, so let me know.